friends have never been more important than they are today. Everywhere you turn, there seems to be reasons to give up or not even try at all. We want to be the light in these times and an inspiration for others to keep pushing forward. My journey of growth comes through humility, and I welcome all who are looking to grow with me. Thanks for tuning in to the Crew First Culture Podcast. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Crew First Culture Podcast. My name is Jeremy, and today, excited to have a guest that I've been looking forward to talking to for a while, Mr. Todd Edwards. How are you doing, Todd?
I'm good, brother. I appreciate I appreciate just being on. Anytime we can talk about fire things, I'm always in. So
That's exactly kind of that's the people I want to be with as well, and that's kind of what puts you on my list. I've heard you quite a few different places and can tell that you're just somebody that loves to talk about the fire service, loves to talk about making it better and all of the little details in between. And so I'm excited to get into a few things that's kind of in your wheelhouse and just let it go wherever it goes. So before we get started, go ahead and kind of introduce yourself and let everybody know who you are if they haven't heard of you before.
okay, yeah, my name is Todd Edwards. I did a little over 30 years with Atlanta Fire Rescue here in Georgia. Started my fire service career at 16 as a volunteer cadet with a combination department in Ohio, right near Wright-Patterson Air Force Base. And my father was my first fire chief. So I've been around it. Pretty much that's all I've ever been around, even as a very small kid, and my dad was volunteering and working full-time for another organization. Every holiday was spent at the firehouse, and whether it was the Christmas party or Easter or birthday, everything was done around a firehouse. And that's so it was just kind of always around me, going to fires with my dad at 7, 8, 9, 10 years old. If we were in the car and his pager went off, he'd flip on his little lights in his pickup truck, and away we'd go. And I'd sit in the truck and watch the guys work, and he'd eventually come get me, and I'd get to see stuff and do stuff, and help him wash fire trucks. And many years later, it's still exactly what I love to do. So very fortunate, very blessed with the opportunities I've been given, and just want to keep doing that. Just because you leave an organization doesn't mean you have to get out of the fire service. I think we have a lot of guys that retire and they just kind of fade away, and there's so much knowledge being taken away from our organizations that, man, I love the guys like John Norman who are still teaching and still writing books, and man, we need all those guys like that out there.
Yeah, no, it's interesting as you're talking. The thoughts are coming in my head, and you're literally just saying the exact same things. As I was thinking, he's saying that he's retired, but he's not retired. He's all
Right.
over the nation teaching still and doing hands-on training drills, entire weekends and all that. And that's awesome. And I
Yeah.
totally agree with you on the whole bringing things with you when you leave. There's so much information, so many experiences, knowledge, all that just disappears because the people, when they're on duty and at that senior level, they're not sharing it, and then when they leave, it's just gone. And so
Yeah.
I totally agree with that for sure.
Yeah, and I had the opportunity to sit down with he's been retired for years from Atlanta Fire Rescue, and he actually attended a class I was doing a couple nights ago, and we were doing Tactics on Tap locally, and he attended. It was so good for him to chime in, and we had guys with 1 year on the job in that program. In the class the other night, we had guys, with senior guys. But it was truly a pleasure to hear Captain Hunt share his stories and his ideas about safety and the culture of the American Fire Service. And it was something that, we talked after the program, and, I'm trying to get him to come on board with our team and maybe try to get him out there because he's literally at home right now sitting on, years and years and years of hundreds and hundreds of fires that he could share and really help out our younger guys sometimes.
Yeah. And that's a great place to start. I was wanting to start somewhere else, but I think that's a good place to start and let you kind of get into the area that you're kind of hinting at right there is, so you and Danny Dwyer, that I would assume by now most of the fire service is very familiar with as well, uh, are starting or have started a class, and let me make sure I got it right. Decision making in a safety culture. Is that correct?
Yes, sir. Yeah, that's it.
And I would like to hear, I don't want you to give away anything you don't want to give away as far as the class goes, but kind of a rundown of what's discussed and what you teach and all that. Just what's the purpose of this class?
Yeah, I think one of the biggest struggles in the fire, to me personally, and when going around and talking to guys all over the place, is we don't always do a really good job with officer development. And so we throw these guys basically right into the fire, and we just expect, because they've been around for 5, 10, 15 years, to make sound decisions. Well, then you add in your culture of your organization is, in a lot of places, I'm not saying everywhere, but in a lot of places in my past organization, it was always safety first, safety first, safety first, safety first. And in this program, we talk about how decisions are made, things that influence our decision making, and that includes our culture of our organization. It includes our training, our background, our SOPs, our rules. The firefighters and officers around us all have such a huge effect on our decision making. But when we start talking about punishment and suspensions, demotions for making these decisions, that's where this class really comes into play. And it's really talking to guys still on the job today. Before they'll make a decision, they actually think about they're going to get in trouble for making a decision. And that's something that, that we talk about in the class. We're very open. We're very honest about everything. We use 2 case studies. We use Danny's rescue of an elderly woman. It got national attention because of some video, and firefighters from across country, most were, praising him. Others were coming back, he should have never gone in there, it was too dangerous. And so we really explained the video that those conditions were not what he crawled into. Actually, what he crawled into were ideal firefighting conditions, ideal rescue conditions.
Yeah.
And things change rapidly, like, fires do. And then we also take a look at another near miss incident that I was the incident commander of when with Atlanta, I rose to the rank of assistant chief, and for lack of, I got in a lot of trouble, and I got double demoted all the way back down to captain. But as a battalion chief, operated in a scene of a significant structure fire that resulted in a firefighter becoming trapped during the overhaul phase. And so we talk about decisions I made during the incident, during the defensive operation, and then the decision to actually send crews back inside for nothing more than overhaul, and how my decisions were affected, and how they were really not great decisions, and how it really changed my perspective on decision making moving forward. So it's a really good program when it comes to looking at both a very positive incident, I think, with Danny, and both a kind of a positive negative incident when you look at the case study that we take a hard look at that I was involved in.
Yeah. And right there, that goes right back to what we kind of started talking about is you guys are sharing these situations, and both of them, there's some negative to both of them, whatever it is. And it would be very easy for both of you to just say, that was in the past. I'm tired of talking about it. I'm done with it. But it takes a lot to sit there and bring this stuff to light and bring it to, bring it nationally to tell your story and to tell everybody that's there, the lessons that were learned and everything. And man, that's, like we talked about, that's what the fire service needs right there, is people stepping up and telling those things that they learned, and so that people will learn them without having to go through them themselves. And I think that's huge for sure.
Yeah, and if it makes somebody just think, at the end of the day, we're not trying. In any class I do, and I'm again very fortunate and very blessed to work with a lot of people in different parts of the country, and I try to start almost every class. I'm not trying to change your organization. All I'm trying to do is make you think before you go to your next fire, or think before you do your next training. if we're all thinking all the time about, certain things, whether they're positives or negatives, we don't see the negatives in it, because I think that we really shift our culture and our mindsets, just by allowing guys have that open thought and that open expression and open communication that really sometimes can get shut down depending on the organization you work for.
Yeah. No, and that's a good way to turn negatives into positives. No matter what it
Definitely.
is, if you have to go through something that is bad, that sucked, that you wish you didn't have to go through. Okay, everybody is has done that. The the two choices you have are to keep that to yourself so that nobody else learns from it, and so that you basically went through it for nothing, or you can use that to help others and to make somebody else's life better, or just to show them that I'm not alone, or whatever it is.
Sure.
And it makes a huge difference in going through something for a reason, or going through something just for nothing, basically. And so I
Yeah.
totally agree with that.
Yeah. And, hopefully, guys will take advantage of those situations, and not when I say take advantage, not in a negative way, but take advantage when somebody's willing to share that
Oh yeah.
information and provide that. It's funny. I'll ask, firefighters, company officers, wherever I'm at, how often they've been outside their four walls of their organization. And it's mind boggling to me still today how many people, don't go outside their organization or outside their state. They won't go to an FDIC or,
Yeah.
to a firehouse expo, or even, down to Chief Ike's conferences there in Pensacola Beach. They just stay in their four wall. Now I know some guys aren't allowed to travel, but man, it's so worth going out and getting to know. I would, if I never left my four walls, I would have never met one of your main guys, and Justin, if which led me to get to meet you. And
Yeah.
man, it's amazing what we can do for each other if we just, that networking is a big deal,
Yeah.
and we really need to
Absolutely.
promote that even harder in the fire service.
And I, this is a topic that, it's one of those topics I know you understand. I have got to kind of be careful how I address it, because
Sure.
uh, my department is, for all intents and purposes, completely against outside anything.
Mm-hmm.
They just don't want it, and they might say that that's not the case, but their actions show that that's the case. And they have turned down the the county fire tactics courses and conferences because of whatever reasons they want to come with. And they've turned down the Scott Thompson classes. All these amazing people in the fire service, they don't want their people to have anything to do with. And I don't understand. And I mean, they're okay, that's fine. We'll spend our own money, we'll take our own time, we'll do it anyway, and that's fine. And I used to be kind of really irritated about that, and feel like, man, I shouldn't have to do that. But that was a wrong perspective of
Mm-hmm.
me to have. And I have corrected myself of that since then. And that's the mindset now, is okay, if you don't want to have anything to do with it, that doesn't mean that I'm not going to have anything to do with it, because there is a
Right.
lot to learn out there, a lot. And I don't understand the mindset of, we're going to stick with the information we know, and that's what we need to work off of, because that's all that's important. I don't get it. It's just crazy to me.
I think, I saw a thread on Facebook the other day, and I started reading the thread, and the thread was basically kind of exactly what you were just saying. How our leadership seems to be in this vicious cycle sometimes. And one of my responses to the thread was, well, the same guys that were saying this 7, 8 years ago are now the guys in charge. They're now the lieutenants and the captains, and some are even chief officers. So if we're going to break that, then the guys who are listening to this, guys who are going to conferences, the firefighters who got that 1, 2, 3 years on the job, you're the ones who are going to have to make that change. And as you move up through the ranks, and I know, being an assistant, I know what truly goes on behind closed doors, and there are a lot of things it takes to operate a fire department, especially a major city fire department like the city of Atlanta.
Yeah.
However, the one thing that I learned that I try to share, the one thing I never heard mentioned in all those meetings was the firefighters or the lieutenants or the captains. And every now and then the battalion chiefs, you'd hear their names. But we never focused our mission on the guys who are actually performing the mission. So I always try to flip that around and go, man, if I just focus on the rookie firefighter and the senior guy and the officers, everything else is going to take care of itself. It really can take care of itself, but we need to send that message stronger and stronger in the fire service, man. We got to take care of that guy who's up 8, 9, 10 times after midnight running medical calls, or the guy who's working on a 48 and he's been on 2 fires that night and he's just beat down. We've got to find ways to focus on them first, and then everything else takes care of itself. And that's what that was really the thing I focused on as an assistant boss, as assistant chief, and especially as a BC. I took care of the captains first. If I took care of my 6 captains, I knew my 6 captains were going to take care of my 80 plus guys every day, and it worked. I mean, I'm not writing books or articles or anything about that. I'm using simple common sense. Take care of the guys take care of you, and they take care of the mission. It's not really rocket science. You would think it's not damn rocket science, but god dang, we try to complicate shit.
You are speaking my language. I mean, it's very obvious. The reason I picked the name of my social media, all that I run off of, is because of that. Crew first culture. That is exactly the mission and the message that I want to share with everybody. No, it's not hard. It's easy. You take care of the people that are doing the work, and they will take care of you. It's just human nature. If if I have a boss that doesn't give a crap about me, that doesn't put me as a priority, that I feel like doesn't care if I am in existence or not, and I'm just a number or a name on a piece of paper, am I going to work as hard for him as somebody that I know has my back, that I know takes care of me as best that they can, and does everything they can for me behind the scenes? Absolutely not. There's no
Yeah.
way. And
No.
it's, yeah, like you said, it's not hard to figure that out. It's just that's how people work.
Well,
And
it's funny you said that exactly what you're saying. And one of the things I say in my leadership class is the one thing all of us have in common, whether you're a volunteer, part-time, federal firefighter, big city, we all have the one thing in common, that we're all human beings first. And
yeah,
mentally, we're going to respond like any other human being in any job, in any career path, in any industry. You treat people the way you want to be treated. And it's not like that's something new. I wish I would have made up that phrase and I'd be a billionaire right now. But it's, you have to kind of live that as boss, and I know you're a boss, and the guys that are out there already have that bugle. You can change, you can you can kind of turn that ship around too. If you've been that kind of for lack of a better term, that douchebag boss, stop doing that and flip that switch and take care of your guys. And you'll be amazed how fast shit gets straightened out. I'm always amazed at how fast you can turn guys.
yeah, yeah. And that's, it definitely, and everybody has seen these people, and there's several ways that these people react. I'm talking about the people that have kind of coasted through the first years of their career, whatever ranks up until they're actually a formal leader, and just not putting effort in, not, whatever it is, that just they don't have a good foundation to stand on to make a difference once they're in that leadership role. But okay, these people can either take that and be humble and say, you know what, I was not a good firefighter, I was not a good driver, whatever it is, I was lazy, but now that I'm an officer, I see that I've got to put more into it. We are expected to be more than that, and I feel like I'm ready to change, and I want to be a leader for you all to change as well. Or you can sit there and be somebody that just says, or just completely ignores it and starts throwing their foot around and writing up rules, and it's just and this is something we talked about yesterday, and a thing I was involved in is humility. And that
Hmm.
goes a long, long way in changing and making changes with yourself and with everything you're involved in. You can either gain a lot or you can lose it all just because of humility.
Yeah, and you know, and even though I go to a class or a conference or wherever I'm at and I'm teaching, I try to make sure, no matter how busy I am, that I sit in everybody else's class. And I literally still have, I got them laying around right now somewhere. Um,
Notebooks.
Notebooks of
Yeah.
notes I've taken in other people's classes, you know, sitting
Yeah.
there going, man, I like that. Oh, I want to try that. I want to use that. I want to see if I can expand on that. And I've got, you know, 3 or 4 of these in my office right now. I was pulling some stuff out the other day for something I was writing. So um, there's always somebody smarter than you. You know, if you, and again, I've heard this where, you know, if you think you know everything about this job, it's time for you to go and hang it up, because you're a detriment to the organization. You're a detriment to
Yeah.
your company at that point, because you don't know everything. You may know a lot of shit, but you don't know everything.
Yeah. So kind of going and it's funny how and this is the way all the conversations I have seem like they circle around to points that I'm wanting to get to on their own. It's amazing.
Sure.
But another thing, and I don't want to go there yet, but another thing I want to talk about is a conversation you've had that I've heard a couple times about flipping firefighters. But before we go there, you kind of just kind of touched on a little bit just now about flipping officers. And it's across the board. All of us, and I try to be very honest about this. I have had down times. I've had unmotivated times. I've been the guy that comes to work and tries to just make it through a shift and get my paycheck and go home.
Uh-huh.
And I just speak to how important it is when you get to that officer role and when you have that responsibility of the careers of others in your hands, how important it is to truly maybe change that mindset and realize that it's bigger than you. You need to step
Yes.
up and be responsible for their careers now, and it's a big job. And do you have any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think it, the one thing whenever you're talking about leadership or officers as a you know general as a whole, it still starts with self, and you know your self perspective, your self beliefs, your love or dislike for the job in the fire service. I've never met a good company officer or a good chief officer that didn't love the job first, because it's kind of hard to lead if you're not into learning and researching and networking and all those things. If you're only focused about me, you're going to suck. And it's just as simple as that. You're going to suck as a boss. Flipping bosses is more challenging than flipping firefighters sometimes. As a battalion chief, I started off with a pretty strong group of officers, and I also had a couple of weak officers in my battalion. But I made it very clear, and we set expectations. The problem is with expectations, when you set the bar too low, everybody's going to meet them, and nobody can rise again. So I set the expectations extremely high about how I wanted us to operate. The key there is don't expect it to happen next shift or the
Oh yeah.
next shift or the next shift.
Yeah.
But in probably 6 months, you could literally see change. In a year, I didn't have to do anything. As a battalion chief with that many officers underneath me, I literally would just go by the stations and call the guys, what do you need today, Captain? We're good, Chief. We got it. Don't need anything. Because they knew when they needed something, whether it was a payroll issue or supply order or apparatus, whatever it was, that I was going to address it, take care of it within that shift period.
Yeah.
So it kind of came a give and take in a lot of ways. And that was real simple for me because I kind of ran the battalion like I was running a firehouse. I didn't look like, oh, I have all this. I'm in charge of all this. The captains were in charge. I worked for the captains, and I always had that mentality. As a lieutenant, I worked for the firefighters. As a captain, I worked for the firefighters. And as a chief, I worked for the captains, and the captains worked for the firefighters. And we really that message really resonated really easily. And but again, they knew they had my trust, but they also knew that if we had to, we could go in the office and have a good old fashioned sit down ass chewing. I wasn't writing them up. Again, it's more of a mentality. I know that there's a lot of you can't be their friend. That was a huge message in our organization. Don't be their friend. Don't be their friend. Don't be their friend. I get that, but if you establish that kind of relationship, I can pull you as my subordinate and as my friend to an office and rip you a new one,
Yep.
shake hands, and we're going to move on. And
Yep.
that's pretty much how we ran. If I called you more than once for something, they knew it was probably going to be met with a little more than, could you please? It's probably going to be, get your head out of your ass, give me what I need. And it was vice versa. They knew the same thing. I left that door open for them to tell me the same thing. Chief, what the hell were you thinking there? And I could honestly say there's a lot of moments where I said, you're right, Cap, I'm wrong. I was way wrong more than I was right. And same as a company officer. And changing a lazy firefighter's mentality is more rewarding than anything else you ever get to do. And I'm sure you have. I'm sure most any boss has had that lazy slug need a stick of dynamite to blow their ass out of the recliner. But again, there's little tricks and little things you can do, but it starts with you personally first. If you're the officer who eats, first one to sit down, throw your dish in the sink and go hide in your office, you lose. You're not going to win. You're never going to win. You can threaten, ride up, yell, scream, bitch, moan. You've already lost the company. We're right there. Be the last one to sit down. I took the mentality as a rookie, as a company officer. I was the last one to sit down to eat. I was the first one up. And I was the first one up so I could get to the sink first, because I had two overly aggressive firefighters that would literally pick me up and carry me out of the kitchen when I was trying to do dishes. Same as a BC. I was always the last one down, but I was always the first one up to do dishes, even as a battalion chief. And company 10, we'd have 13s over. We'd have 25 guys eat dinner together. And it was, 4 or 5 rookies at every meal. And it was a race. And they knew it was a race because I would eat as fast as I could. So I could do dishes. But those are things that build that teamwork amongst ourselves. Something as stupid as washing a plate. I can't believe guys actually think because they're a boss they don't need to wash a plate or mop a floor or dust something. So those are ways that the change. And then I was huge. I'm still huge on consistency. And I don't know how you operate, and I don't know how a lot of officers operate. And I know departments got their little rules, but man, we can't train today and then not do shit for 4 months and then wonder why the guys aren't in training. So we trained every shift, but we consistently trained every single shift. And that made a huge difference in the mentality, because they knew after training, that was lunch. After lunch, they were on their own. They had the rest of the day to work out, nap, study, watch TV, whatever they wanted to do. But from when we walked in the firehouse until lunchtime, we worked, and we worked hard to make sure all our stuff was organized, done, and we were being better than anybody else in our battalion.
And it's true. It's truly amazing to me. It's like I am literally sitting talking to a little bit older version of myself. I mean, literally everything you're talking about
I like the way
is
you
that's
padded that comment with a little
I
bit
try to
older.
I try to be careful. uh, but I mean, there's so much I want to go into there, but I'm just trying to figure out what first. What you talked about the relationships, building that relationships, the whole you can't be the friend anymore conversation. I love to have that conversation because I think it is total bull crap. If
Yeah.
you are a boss of somebody and you totally shut down that relationship type pipeline to them, man, you're on a bad path, because
Mm-hmm.
that's a quick way to get to that person that we talked about earlier that is just demanding, and you're the boss, and you have no relationship built up underneath it to gain respect, gain trust, gain all these very important things to make it all work and work smoothly. And that is one of my main goals, is to have a close relationship with the people I work with. You said that you didn't know really how we run up. we run a lot like you are talking about. I tell them very openly, very honestly, man, guys, I just want something. I want to learn something every day. I want to grow every day. And I've said this over and over again, but give me a couple hours in the morning, and I want it to be in the morning if at all
Hmm.
possible, because that's the best time that we have. If we wait after lunch, everybody's dragging, and it seems to go away easily. But
Hmm.
give me just a few hours. If it's a weekend, give me 30 minutes, give me an hour, whatever it is, just something. And when we do that and we get out there and we bust our butt, and we get some hands-on stuff that wears everybody out, and we're just out there for an hour and a half, man, I'm good. We'll go
Hmm.
home, we'll take some lunch, and we'll do whatever, just whatever needs to be done, and that's it. That's all I
Yeah.
ask. and
Yeah.
and and that's kind of, it's all a huge picture. I I want to build that relationship with them so that they respect me, because they know that I care about them. They know that I respect them. They know that I respect their time, and everything they have going on at home, and everything else. And so when it comes down to when I ask them something, or what ask something of them, then it's just, it just happens because they want to do right by me. And if I don't build that relationship, if I don't have that friendship and closest with them, it's just one guy asking some other guys to do something that they don't really want to do. And you know humans don't like that. And
Hmm.
so again, it's not that hard to figure out,
Mm-mm.
but man, it's just taking care of each other, and doing what needs to be done, and moving on. And I know that there's a lot there to go into, that's for sure. And I'm basically, this, everything you say, that's exactly how I feel as well.
Yeah, yeah, I love that, and I think honestly, talking to guys, there's more guys that are more like minded, like you and I, for sure, across this country. It's unfortunate though that so many good guys lose their way, and because of the boss they have, whether it's their lieutenant, their captain, their BC. Um, I've known several guys over the last 3 years that have literally left the organization,
Yep.
not because of pay, not because they don't like going to work. It's because they could no longer go to that toxic fire station for 24 hours and deal with that idiot. No matter how many times they tried, no how many times they tried to do the right thing and keep pushing, everybody wears down.
Yep.
Everybody can be broken down, and that's tough when you're working like that every day. And I never fault guys. I wrote a recommendation about 8 months ago for a firefighter that worked directly for me, and he would left the organization for another organization, and he was taking a pay cut, but
Yep.
he could not work in that environment anymore. And I told him, I didn't fault him. I didn't try to talk him into staying. I said, bro, do what you got to do. But
Yep.
we looked at everything, talked about it, and I had him as a rookie. I helped do his recruit class. He was sent to me right out of recruit school after I got double demoted. I was back as a captain again, and still stay in contact with him today. See, I always check in, see how he's doing with his new fire department. He loves it. Absolutely loves that he made the change. And it was a hard change when you're
Yep.
vested 5 years in someplace. Up and leaving is not as simple as guys think that it is.
No, and that's yet another conversation. All these different things we bring up are almost like total just podcasts by themselves. But you know, how can you make this job suck? I mean, seriously, this is the best job in the world.
Mm-hmm.
It is so much fun. It's so rewarding. You're part of a team environment. It's very hard for me to figure out things that I just don't want to be involved in. There's a lot of crap that we got to deal with it, and that's fine. But measuring out the positives and negatives, man, this is an amazing job. And how do you make this job suck? I don't get that. But you've got to work hard to make this job suck. And there's a lot of people out there doing it.
Yeah. Yeah. It's funny if guys focused on the job, they would find out it doesn't suck the way they think it sucks. I always laugh when I hear guys bitching and moaning about their pay. You know, they've been on that job for 8 years or whatever. And I get it. Yeah, nobody's getting rich, but if you were that guy who thought you were going to join a fire department and you were going to get rich, well, you're not that bright anyway. You're not getting a job somewhere else. How it is. But man, I looked for somebody. I was talking to a buddy of mine the other night, and he said, "What do you miss?" I said, "I miss the guys. I miss going to fires, and I miss the guys. The paperwork, the BS. Somebody harping about your response times on your ass all the time. That stuff I don't miss. But man, that walking into the firehouse is the part that I tell guys that are close to retirement. When you walk in that morning and you open the bay door, open the firehouse door, and that first wave of smoke hits you in the face because they've been, you can smell it. You can tell they've been to a fire that night. You're like, oh, you bastards.
Yeah. Exactly.
And then, the sitting around BSing with the guys, checking on your guys, everybody checking off. I mean, our routine became so normal that nothing ever got missed. And it wasn't because I was some great leader. It was because the guys were bought in because they knew what we were very consistent in our day. And so our job never sucked. For us, we never really had bad days. Even on our busiest 12, 14, 18, 20 run days, everybody left smiling. Everybody left smiling every day. And, hey, see you in 2. I mean, everybody be right back at it without a whine or a complaint in the world. But we made it that environment. We made it. I think you can make coming to work something you look forward to instead of like the average Joe where they get up on Monday morning, Tuesday morning, Wednesday morning, Thursday morning, Friday morning. And the first words out of their mouth, oh, shit, I got to go to work.
The old weekly grind you always hear about it.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Absolutely. And that's a good point right there. And this is a perfect time for that conversation. And I know you're not dealing with a lot of this personally because you're not involved in station life right now, but right now is a struggle with all the crap going on. And I have been very vocal about my struggles with that, dealing with that, trying to stay driven, trying to stay passionate through all this. And that's a conversation that we've had as a crew is, why are we here? Why? And I asked him, why is it because we're getting paid and this is a job, or is it because is it deeper? Are we truly still here because we want to help people? Are we really still here because we want to make a difference? Because we have to focus on that. If we're here because it's a fun job and you get to hang out and you get to play video games and you get paid, that's gonna go away. You're gonna lose that. It's got to be a something deeper driving you basically. And
yes.
and right
100%.
now, everything we're so kind of trying to think of we have so many mandates and so many general orders and all this going on right now, and you can't do this and you can't do that. But at the same time, if that's what I focus on, it's going to be a miserable existence right now. But at the same time, there's a lot of stuff that we're able to do that normally we wouldn't. Everybody's leaving us alone basically because trying to keep separated. Okay, that means that we can run the day like we want to run the day, and we can do what we want to do, under, of course, some guidelines, but
Sure.
seriously, there's so many different perspectives to take, and we just got to focus on the good that's going on. And yeah, okay, we ran 5 COVID calls that we had to gear up for, wear gowns and masks and all this. Yeah, it sucks. All right, who cares? We got to go out and train and have fun and grow some camaraderie and help our skills. And then we came home and ate together and had fun and joked around. And man, God, just focusing on the good stuff and not focusing on that negative. That's what we've got to stay geared up to do. And it makes it so easy to love the job, like you said.
I know the number one, and I always laugh because I use this in one of my classes, 3 o'clock in the morning. and you get toned out for in Atlanta, they're called lift assist. We're helping an elderly person off the floor with something. So the first words you hear in the bunk room is your three guys, if you're on a single engine house, all go, "Oh, son of a, this is bullshit," all the way to the rig, bitching and moaning, on the rig, bitching and moaning, all the way till you hit the air brake, everybody stops bitching so they don't, the people don't hear you. So I try to get a perspective here, and I always try to look at it in my light. If I was an 80-year-old man and my wife had fallen, and I'm no longer able as a man to help my wife of 40 years off the floor.
No.
How much, and if you really kind of look back at those little calls, sometimes we really help a lot more people on those little calls than we do on the big glory. I mean, I know what we all want. We all want to go to the big fires and, make the push down the hall, make the, the great kid rescue.
Highlight reel stuff.
Yeah. Unfortunately, or fortunately, how, again, perspective here, we make a huge difference in people's daily lives by helping her, treating the family with respect, treating the elderly lady on the floor with respect, making sure she's good and comfortable before we leave the scene, making sure that the gentleman who called you is good before you leave the scene. And even though it doesn't seem like a big deal, that it's all about your perspective. And if you can get guys to kind of take a step back and really see exactly what we're doing, that's a huge deal. It's something as simple as pushing a stranded motorist off the side of the road. That's a big deal, because to that person, it's a horrible event. To that elderly man who's watching his wife lay uncomfortably on the floor because she slipped and fell at 3:00 in the morning, that's a huge event for that person and for that family, that we were kind enough and we did our job both professionally and respectably to assist that person. And I know it's not glory, and you're not going to go back and when you make shift change, man, you should have been at that lift assist last night. It was freaking awesome, bro. That's not what it's going to be. So again, prospectively, we have to look at it the right way. And we did make a huge difference for 5 lousy minutes of our day to help that woman and help that family. And that's, again, it's perspectives. The fire's coming. The next one's coming.
Yeah. Something else that's neat about that, and I've seen it several times, and it's helped me several times, is you go on those calls and it's exactly what you're talking about. It's griping before the message from the dispatcher even comes out. As soon as that tone hits, and we don't even know what it is, people are griping, and it goes until the parking brake is set, and we get to work. But it's those times where we get in there, and all we do is help somebody up. That's it. Literally just help somebody up, and they are so thankful and like just over the top, just pouring out gratitude to you, and that really, I hope that is really a gut check to say, gosh dang, I need to shut my mouth and just do what I'm supposed to do. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I've seen that happen several times, and I love seeing the kind of mentality change in my crew when that happens. You can tell that it really affects them in the way of like really deeply thinking about what the heck they're doing, and that really hits you to say, man, it's bigger than us just going out, spending a few minutes to pick this person up. We are doing a job that people need us to do, and we've got to do better about having a better attitude about it.
Yeah. Again, if you go back over the course of your careers, no matter how big your department, I mean, there's very few departments going to work every day. FDNY, Chicago, Boston, those guys are going to, Los Angeles, probably in certain areas of that city. But the majority of the American Fire Service are going to do a lot more lift assist, a lot more vehicle accidents than they are, the 2-story wood frame with heavy fire throughout the second floor, people hanging out windows and all that stuff that, you don't ever see a lift assist on Facebook. But the thing that we do the most of, that we have such a huge impact on people's lives, are those little calls. And again, it's a perspective that we need to instill in our firefighters from the day they came on the job all the way to they're the chief officer, of how important those little impact calls really are to the people that, we swore that we were going to serve. We didn't swear. When I took the oath, I didn't say, I swear to only go to fires,
Yeah.
So, it'd be glorious and great, but the reality of our job is we do a lot of little calls. And again, that's that mentality that we have to instill in our current and our future. And as guys move up through the ranks of how important those little calls are.
Yeah. Something else I think is I would kind of be missing the point here if I didn't bring up and tie in is the culture.
Mm-hmm.
The culture of whatever crew or organization, whatever you're talking about, the culture that you are creating and how it affects and how it accepts these situations. And what I mean by that is, if that's the culture that we have, that no matter what the call comes in, we're griping until we get there, we do our job, then we get back in the truck and we're griping when we get back, man, that you're missing the mark a lot. And so kind of the goal is to create a culture that, oh, that's not the norm. We're here to do a job. Our culture is that when the cones come out, if we like it or not, we're going to go do it. We're going to keep as positive as we can. We're going to come back. If there's something we got to kind of vent about for a little bit, let's vent about it, move on, and get back into a positive mindset. And so I think that's a big deal right there. Just talking about kind of the culture that we create by accepting this negativity and not shutting it down. And that's kind
Mm-hmm.
of a situation that I have kind of constantly got to keep in check is that negativity. If you aren't constantly on top of it, it will creep in, and all it takes is one person, and that one person with that negativity every single call will affect everybody else's mentality, everybody else's perspective, everybody else's attitude. And so you got to create a culture that is not acceptable. We're
Mm-hmm.
here to do this, so let's do it. There's no gripe, and there's no reason to gripe. It's not going to change anything. So
Yeah. And there's a lot of little avenues there, from what you said to maybe change that mindset. And there's I would say tricks, but the change somebody's perspective is can be a challenge because again, like I said earlier, we're all human beings first. So people from all walks of life come into your firehouse, and you're working with different mindsets, backgrounds, religious beliefs. All these things actually come into play. And again, that's why I kind of mentioned earlier about, man, we do not do a great job in developing officers because we're number one, we're afraid to have open, honest conversations because we don't want to hurt little Billy's feelings or Sally's feelings, or we don't want to do this and we don't want to do that. But one of the things I find interesting, and I went back and I looked at some calls one day, and those kind of calls that we're talking about where we're just helping somebody 7, 8, 10 minutes. Well, we're here for 24 hours. That 10 minutes that you had to pause the movie really going to hurt you that badly? But I come back to that same story is think of the impact we're having. I know it may suck to get up at 3 a.m., but man, what an impact we had for those people. And sometimes reminding people of what we really do can change somebody's perspective. If they come out the door and they go back to, I remember when the captain said, we're really helping this person. And it does, but it's again goes back. You've got to be consistent with your message. If you're the boss and you're the first one bitching and moaning about every SOP, bitching and moaning about doing drills, bitching and moaning about every call, bitching and moaning about this, bitching and moaning about that, basically you create a shift of nothing but people sitting around bitching and moaning. I can take one fireman, I'll pull that one firefighter to the side and say, I do in the communications class I teach. I try to get guys to understand these are the two simplest questions, and you cannot even get in trouble for asking them. Why and what? You cannot get in trouble for asking another boss or a firefighter, why are you bitching? Because what the amazing answer that the standard answer is, I don't know. So I always like to follow that up and really put them on. Like, why don't you know? And typically the answer is they've never really thought about it. So until they start thinking about it, how do you change your perspective if you're not even thinking about it? Your habit has been formed to be a bitcher and a moaner. Why are you bitching and moaning, Fred? Why are you bitching and moaning, Steve? And make them answer the why. And then What do you want me to do about it?
Yeah.
And it's amazing how why and what help form perspectives, and can change somebody's mindset about something because maybe they've just never been asked to think about what we do.
Yeah.
And it's again, it seems, I don't have, if you can see some of my background, it's nothing but buff stuff. I got helmets and I got about 8,000 little fire trucks and my dad left me when he passed. So my entire office is nothing but, I don't have any lift assist awards or anything on my walls, but man, it's, again, it's kind of, let's make this simple. We can make leadership a lot simpler than we have in the past. And then again, I don't want to say it and make guys think, oh, it's really that simple, because it's not that. As simple as it can be, it can also be extremely difficult when you have that guy that is just, it's almost like he gets up in the morning and go, how can I make that captain's life miserable today? And I've worked with those guys too.
And that kind of goes into a question I was asked yesterday, and it's a very, very good question, a very difficult question to answer is, how do you create buy-in? If you've got this vision of a culture that you want to create, if you are, on the road to making changes that you feel are necessary, how do you create that buy-in? And man, the only real answer I have to that is that you just become somebody that people want to follow, or somebody worth following, basically. And
Mm-hmm.
and if you want to create changes, you have to be the one doing this stuff every single day. If you want to create a culture that trains every day, that your goal is daily growth, daily learning, then you better be out there doing it. And
Mm-hmm.
you better be able and willing to put that work in, because the day that you are tired and don't feel like doing anything, that shows everybody how important that really is to you.
Mm-hmm.
It's important until you don't feel like it. You know what I mean? And do you have another way of answering that question? I mean, it's a pretty deep question, but really, I mean, that's the goal as a supervisor, as a boss, whatever you want to call it, to create buy-in, to get everybody bought in on what you have to sell.
I think, and everybody's kind of seen or heard this old adage, you feel like you're beating your head against a brick wall some days. The good leaders, the guys who change culture in their fire station or their organization, are those guys who have no problem beating their head against that wall every day, hours a day. Sometimes it feels like. But I think one of the approaches I've always taken is be consistent first, because consistency can change culture. When your firefighters know what to expect every day from a regular day, again, this is it's fire service. Changes. You walk in the door at 7:01, you may be at a fire from 7 a.m. till 4 o'clock that afternoon. So you got to be flexible at the same time. But if your typical normal days are built around consistency, you start getting buy-in. I made mention about being the last one to sit, first one to get up. You're building and changing culture without saying, hey, I want to change the culture. I think when we try to force feed guys things, they'll fight back and push harder. I think when you're being the lead of everything you do, whether it's in a training exercise, we did things, I was very company focused. So Thursday was major cleanup day. So if we want to change culture, I know everybody cleans the firehouse, but on cleanup day, we took that as an opportunity to bond and get the job done at the same time. Nobody enjoys breaking down the stove and scrubbing out burnt eggs off the stovetop, but we did it as a unit, and that built a culture within our firehouse. One of the other things, if you want to really change your culture, is be the first one to always make the, if you screw up, do not go, well, I wouldn't have if John wouldn't have done this. I wouldn't have if you guys would have done this. So after every incident, significant, I want to say significant, fire, car fire, I always ask even the rookie, the snot nose, been there 6 seconds. Hey, Rook, how did I do? I want to know what if the rookie had an opinion of the job I did as the leader. and it opened up that communication line too. And I think to truly change culture, there's got to be open communication, not this, like we're doing Zooms and text messaging and Facebook and emoji shit and all that. It's got to be that one-on-one, face-to-face conversations. And going back again, asking guys what they want from the day they come into your firehouse. What do you want? What do you want? What do you want? Do you want to be here? Do you want to go somewhere else? Do you want to be an arson investigator? Do you want to be a dispatcher, a paramedic, whatever they want? And then put them on that track and start setting their goals and expectations for them. Not everybody comes in, wanting to be the blaze tamer, kicking in the front door and going in. Other guys don't want to do anything but that. And then you have the guys who are well-rounded, who can be a great paramedic and be a great firefighter and eventually be a great lieutenant, captain, chief, whatever they, strive to be. So I think, that's kind of a long-winded, not even a good answer, to be honest, but consistency first, open communication has huge effects on your culture. And it actually eliminates bitching. When you allow guys to bitch sometimes, man, they kind of find out they don't really not a whole lot to be griping about in the first damn place. Yeah. Especially when you look at the last shift. Hey, we had 3 runs. You slept all night. What you bitching about?
And that's some more good points. And I like how, what you just said kind of ties in also what you said earlier about, calling them out and asking why. Why do you have this mentality? Like you just said, we, just speaking personally for our crew, we used to be one of the busiest stations in our town. Mm-hmm. We had a new station built closer to us, and they sucked a lot of runs away from us. And now we're running at a third, maybe a half of the calls at the most of what we used to run.
Right.
We should have no room to gripe at all. But it's still there, and so that's going to be something I will be doing myself, and just straight up, why do you feel it's okay to be like this? Why do you have this mindset? I want to know. And then, like you said, the what can we do about it? What can I do about it? And I think that's a very good way to maybe start some personal reflection in these people of really figuring out what's going on. So that's a good point.
Yeah, and it's simple stuff. I mean, to me, it's simple. I know you could probably pull 100 books about how to communicate this and how to do this and how to do that, but just from 30 years and going on 38 around the fire service, the best firefighters I've seen, and I'm not talking about they're not all writing in Fire Engineering magazine. I've worked with some incredible guys who are nothing, have never wanted to be full-time, but are some of the best firefighters I've ever seen. When you tell them to do a drill or something, they're volunteer firemen. They're part-time firemen. They're at some of the slowest companies in the city, but they're great firemen because they love the job. And you ask them, I always love talking to, people like, the Mike Champos, the Kurt Isaacsons, and, that list could just go on and on. Justin Mans, Brian Brush. These guys are all in, and those are the guys I think we can all learn. I mean, again, I can learn something from everybody. I guarantee I've already picked up a few things today, and I always have a notebook next to me wherever I meet with somebody or talking to somebody, because somebody will say something. Oh shit, I'm going to use that. I'll write that right on down. But I love something you said earlier about wanting their respect is, I think, fantastic, because it's not about I demand your respect. I want you to respect me, but I got to show you that I respect you at the same time, no matter what it is.
Yeah.
It's not everybody's coming to work and having a good day, because everybody has something going on at home right now. All of us do.
That's interesting. You bring up Justin Mann. He's on my crew. Very, very lucky to have him be a part of kind of what I am trying to create, in my crew. But we had a conversation a couple of weeks ago, kind of on these lines, and what you talked about right there is, we have a small crew. It's only 5 people, but even just 5 people. So if we allow down days to create just off days for us, for each person. Like, so I guess a better way to say it. So if I come into work and I'm having a bad day, so man, I'm having a bad day, guys. Let's just take it easy today. Okay. Next day we come to work. Justin's he's decided that he's having a bad day. Well, Justin's having a bad day. Okay, let's take out. Even a small crew of 5 people, if you allow everybody's bad days to take away from the mission that you want to be on, it doesn't work. You've got to figure out a way to, okay, man, I understand you're having a bad day. I'm sorry. What's going on? Let's talk about it for a little bit. Okay. I appreciate you talking about it. We're going to help you whatever we can, but let's go out and let's do something. Get your mind off of it and try to learn something today. Just figure out a balance between not ignoring these things. We don't expect you to come into the fire station and be completely okay if everything is falling apart at home. But you got to find a balance of taking care of them, but at the same time still focusing on doing what we need to be doing as a
Mhm.
crew and as a culture. And that's a good kind of conversation to have with everybody.
Sometimes the firehouse is the place of refuge too. And
Yeah.
where, that bad day, oh God, I gotta go home with those two, the girlfriend and the wife, for those guys who are into that. But yeah, I know this pill's a little hard for some guys to swallow, but I'm not here to tell people this is how you should think. As a lieutenant, a captain, a chief officer, you give up the right to kind of come to work and have a bad day. You got to come to work. It's hard. It's hard to flip that switch at 07 for 30 years. And even in your, for at least that consistency factor, I've worked under kind of like the 7-1 premise from 07 to 1. We're working
Yeah.
at 1 o'clock. Go do what you want to do. I don't give a shit.
Yeah.
But from even though you got a lot of shit going on, man, that 2 hours of not worried about all the other crap as a boss and just worrying about my people, that you kind of, I don't know of anybody who got promoted that was forced to be promoted. I don't know if anybody came to your house, put a gun to your head, made you go sit down, take the test, accept the promotion. You volunteered for that shit. And I think all officers that, if you've gone through the process of testing, if that's how your organization moves guys forward, you asked for it. If you only took the test because you got a 5% bump in pay, well, you made a mistake in taking that promotion. Because
Yeah.
once you start putting on bugles, you can't be the one having the bad day. It's a tough pill for some guys to swallow. And I would drive in. I was always the first one at the station, no matter how bad the rookie wanted to beat my ass. I was always the first one in the firehouse. I was always the first one with my gear on the rig, first one to get on the rig if we had a call, no matter how bad it sucked sometimes. I would just kind of, bite that bullet and, when downtime hit, then deal with whatever I was dealing with. But I was very fortunate and blessed that I was able, my bad days were very far and few between, for, the entire time I was in the firehouse.
And that's, man, that's something I need to hear, and that's something I need to work on. And I think that has been uh, a definite weak spot, I guess, in my leadership this year, especially, is I've had a lot of bad days.
Mm-hmm.
And my problem is when I have bad days, I don't hide them real well. I get the grouchy face. I don't even know what my guys call it, but basically
Oh, I'm sure they
they
got a name for it. You just don't know
oh
it.
yeah. Oh yeah. They have made it known that I don't hide it well. And
uh,
so, I'll get to, kind of staying in my office and, just quiet. And so I have got to I've got to get that mindset. I've got to gain that mindset and perspective that, again, I said it before, this is bigger than me. I might be upset about something going on. I might be ticked off at a new rule that come down. I might be irritated because of some of the attitudes around the station. It doesn't matter. I am the one person that has to be the driver of whatever's going on. So I can't, like you said, I can't allow those things to affect me like that. Because
mm-hmm.
if I am like that, if my demeanor and personality is showing that I'm ticked off or I'm irritated or I'm grouchy or whatever else, that shows everybody else that, okay, this is what kind of day we got going on right now. And so, let's go with it. So that's a great thing for me to hear. I need to hear that.
It, it's hard. Like I said, it's a hard pill to swallow as a boss that you can't have those bad days. And I'm not saying you can't be a human being. Obviously, I mean that's stupid to even suggest that.
Yeah.
But when I'd come to work, if I was having that off day, the guys knew me well enough. If it was, if I wasn't at 100%, but that was far and few between. But we would still stay with our consistency, stay with our routine of we're going to take care of the rig, we're going to take care of breakfast, we're going to take care of the house, we're going to take care of our training, we're going to take care of lunch, we're going to take care of working out, and we're going to take care of each other. And that actually made even the shittiest days pretty easy to swallow because I knew what they expected. All I say, I'm just going, I know I don't want to do a class with you here, but I'm just going to ask you as a boss, what are you really in charge of? And I always try to get guys, again, as part of the officer development that I do, what are you as a boss, 2 guys, 5 guys, I don't care if you got 80 guys, what are you really in charge of?
Are you asking me to answer
Yeah. Oh
that?
yeah. I'm sorry. Yeah.
I just,
Yes.
I didn't know if this is a rhetorical question or
No,
what.
no. I'm asking you that as a boss, what are you truly in charge of?
Man, I don't, I think if you really got down into it and if you're wanting a deep answer, I think I'm just in charge of creating an environment that is putting my people in the best place to succeed.
Okay.
I want to create an environment that everybody feels safe. They feel like they love coming to work and they feel like they will do everything they possibly can to make things better when we arrive on scene. And also there's a preparation part of that too is getting them to the point where they can do everything they you know need to do to make things better. That's about
No, I
the
love that.
easiest, quickest way to say it.
And again, I hope that guys that listen to this will ask themselves that question.
Yeah.
And then I'll give you my, what I typically try to follow that up with. We tend to get wrapped up in, well, I'm in charge. I got to make sure all the reports are done. I got to make sure this is done. I got to make sure that is done. I got to make sure the thing I try to get current and future officers to remember that the number one thing we're in charge of is people first. People first is so easy. And then I take that to the next level. I'm not just in charge of the job and the lives of my 4 guys, but my decisions have a direct effect on Justin's wife, Justin's kids. And we have to have that mentality when we cross the threshold that morning of what we're truly in charge of. And especially as current bosses and guys who are going to be lieutenants and captains, chiefs down the road, the number one thing I'm in charge of is my people, and I'm actually in charge of their families' well-being in a lot of ways. For 24 hours, I'm in charge of Justin's family's kids, his wife. I make or break that by being good at my job. That's why we train. This is why I ask guys, tell me the 5 classes of buildings, tell me what a flashover is, tell me what a backdraft is, how fast can we stretch a line to the right location quickly, effectively every single time, not once, multiple times with full gear, not in shorts and a t-shirt. If you follow Cody Trestail with Brothers in Battle, his company does a hose stretch every single day.
Mm-hmm.
When they're on duty. And I love that. And I adopted that years ago. And again, it's a mentality, because if I stretch the line correctly, I'm being safe for my company and my company's family and anybody that still may be in that structure. It's about them when we arrive on scene, but man, every day I do a drill, it's about us being better at our job. Every day we throw a ladder. Even as an engine company, we were religious and anal about practicing VIS as an engine company. What if I don't have any trucks that day? All the trucks are out on another job. Do I wave at grandma on the second floor? Sorry, no ladder trucks today. And we're an engine company and we suck at throwing a ground ladder. No, we were proficient at throwing ground ladders because I didn't know what that night was going to entail for us. We were fantastic at stretching that first line. I mean, we were at the door in under a minute, masked up and ready to rock and roll. But that was a goal. Those were when we talk about setting objectives and training standards. You have to do that at your station level. If you're sitting around waiting on that, that bullshit minimum company stuff, minimum standards, you're going to be a minimum firefighter. You're damn sure in the hell going to be a minimum boss. I've never been to a fire that minimum got the job done. And I'm sure you haven't either. But, officers need to think about what they're really in charge of. It ain't about that stupid ass paperwork. Who gives a crap? Oh, man, the report's late. By how long? 10, 20 minutes? Who gives a shit? It's a piece of paper. Calm down. Oh, we didn't get the truck cleaned today. Who gives a shit? Guess what? Truck's going to be there tomorrow. It's going to get dirty again. We'll get the truck clean. Let's take care of our people in the right ways, and that takes care of their families, and that means we take care of our mission, which is always going to be the citizens that we serve, whether it's picking them on the floor or plucking them from the second story or third story of a house fire.
Yeah, and that kind of goes to another conversation that we have had amongst my crew is, I feel like officers, firefighters, whatever, we can get overwhelmed with what we are responsible for. Right? There's so many things that we are asked to do, so many different techniques and skills that we are really expected to be good at, and I think that kind of helps to lose some drive and some passion, because it's just like, okay, what the heck are we supposed to focus on now? Or there's so many different areas and different directions you can go. But to me personally, and this is what I told them, is I want to be solid in 3 areas. I want to be freaking good and solid at hose deployment, hose movement. I want to be solid in forcible entry, and I want to be good and solid at VES and search. And because I think that those 3 things are so vital to, we're basically engine company, through our department. We don't have truck companies. And so we're responsible for that stuff anyway. But those things make such a huge difference, time wise. We're saving seconds because we have to save seconds. And I think it's good to have that kind of that focus, and not to say that we don't do anything else. We're going to learn about other things too, but the majority of our time is going to be focused on doing those things so that we can get as good, smooth, efficient, effective, whatever you want to call it, as we can in those areas.
I couldn't agree more. You're on an engine company or a ladder truck?
Yeah. No, we have one truck company in the city, and it basically operates as an engine as well. So we're all engines.
Yeah. So you have to be the skills you listed. You guys can't be just good. You guys have to be 100% lockdown great at those kind of skills. You don't, places like Atlanta, if things start going sideways, boom, I hit the button and have another 5 companies come up. That shit ain't working. I hit button again and bring more companies. I have the utmost respect. I've worked in those organizations where there's no button to hit. It's you, and that is all that's coming. So you better be damn well. You better be not just good. You better be great at those basic skill sets, because there's nothing you mentioned that's advanced. I love when we have advanced VS. What the hell's advanced? Ladder, take out a window, proper search, sweep the floor, sound it, all that, isolate the room. We're not talking about advanced here. We're talking about being proficient at the basics.
Yeah.
And we look advanced because we're doing it so quickly, but man, it all still starts with, putting on our turnout gear first. That's a basic skill set that, we need to be good at and be great at. So I love what you said. I think that is, I think you're spot on in that message for damn sure with your guys and with yourself.
I had a conversation yesterday with my daughter. I've got a daughter and a son that are playing basketball, and they're young. Just, I think this is her maybe 3rd year playing basketball, so she's got a lot to learn, and she wants to do all these that are starting to shoot threes in practice, and they're starting to do all this other stuff, and the conversation is, man, you have got to get good at the fundamentals. Pick you a spot 7 feet away from the goal and just shoot and shoot and shoot and shoot, or just dribble back and forth. And and that stuff isn't fun. It's not, that's the lift assist of basketball. It's not the glorious stuff. But
Right.
and I try to tell her, you look at these professional athletes, the Major League Baseball players that hit hundreds and hundreds of balls off of a tee every single day.
Yeah.
And that's the same mentality that we need to take. It's
Hmm.
not, hey, we did VES last month once, we're fine.
Yeah,
No,
we're good.
we need to do it until we totally grasp the small details, and we need to do it until our bodies are doing these things without really thinking about it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's just those fundamentals, and absolutely what you said about the whole advanced thing. And I know that's is it Jim McCormack with FD, the training network.
Yeah.
That's kind of his
50-10.
saying
Yeah.
is, there's no advanced skills, just you're just doing the fundamentals over and over again until you get really
Hmm.
good at it. And I couldn't agree more. It's just we've got to get good, so good at the little things, so good at the easy stuff that everybody kind of looks over, that everything else takes care of itself. And so I'm on board with that for sure.
Yeah, and it's funny. I bet if I'm teaching somewhere where I'm doing hands on, um, if one of the other instructors is teaching, sometimes I'll just kind of step back in the back of the area where we're instructing at and watch students. And when I see students struggle, I don't let them just fail, obviously, but I always ask them, "When's the last time you did this?"
Yep.
And it's been a long time. It's been a couple months, and we used to drill, but now we don't so much. And it kind of reminds them of that. You can be able to tie knots and rope rescues and all that, which is definitely essential to our line of work. But if you can't put on your damn pants, you're not doing me a whole lot of good. We're rolling out on one story wood frame. And when I see guys struggle masking up, when I see guys struggling, pulling a hose line, that brings to me they've got shitty leadership at their firehouses. That I don't care how anybody wants to look at a job as a supervisor, as a lieutenant, captain, whatever you want to call yourselves. But if I look and I go in your station, the station's dirty, the guys are all laid out at 10 o'clock in the morning and they can't stretch a hose line, that's not them.
Yep.
That's you allowing that to happen. So again, as that comes back to there, can't have a bad day as a boss, man. We got to come in, 100 miles an hour every damn day, just about. I had days obviously that we didn't go 100, but we stayed around 80. Yeah. But we also were really good at talking. I mean, we had great conversations. We had conversations with our surrounding companies, good, bad, indifferent. We love to talk, especially if we beat you into your first due and we took your fire. We could literally talk shit for like 2 years later.
Oh
And
yeah.
there was one that we literally passed the engine. They were in their base till lights going on a report house fire with entrapment. And we blew past their station. It's been 4 years now. When I see him, I go, "Hey, remember that time?" We still talk shit. But that was, again, that's that mentality though that we
Yeah.
instill with the more of the routine or the not so fun calls. That's a mentality you actually carry onto the fire ground too. And when you're so proficient at the basics, man, it makes things so much easier when you're not going, "Hey, which way do I put the tool in to force this inward swinging door?" If I gotta have a conversation with you about that,
Yes.
I'm failing you as a boss, as a lieutenant, as a captain, as an instructor.
Yeah. And that's something else, Justin Mann talks about is, just giving a crap about the job. I've seen senior firefighters and senior officers on my department not know how to bundle up a pre-connect,
Uh-huh.
not know how to make a modified Minuteman bundle. That is the load on every rig we have. That's the only load we have now. And you don't know how to do that. That just shows you don't give a crap about the job, and you have no pride in what we do. And that is hard. You mentioned the hard pill to swallow. For me, that is a hard pill to swallow right there. You
Yeah.
should be the people pushing this, teaching this, and you don't even know how to do it yourself. That
Right.
is a problem, a very big problem right there.
Yeah, and I think guys get it's very easy to get lax. You haven't had a job for a while. Guys can really, you know, get. I don't want to say, well, yeah, can get lazy,
Oh yeah.
and they get in that mentality. Yeah, we ain't doing shit today. We're not doing nothing today. Today's gonna be easy. Yeah, we'll mow the grass and we're gonna chill and we're gonna try to knock out 18 hours of Netflix and but that's again, that comes back to you can't have the bad day as the boss. You got to come in there ready to keep everybody on point at every call we go to. Because one of the things I ask students all the time, when's your next fire? When's your next really bad, nasty fire? I don't know. Could be tonight, could be next shift, could be 6 months from now. But is that bad, nasty fire coming? Oh yeah. There's no way around that. It's definitely coming. As long as you're on the job, that day is coming again.
Yeah.
So if we're not prepared for it, we're the ones looking really stupid, or we're the ones trying to explain how we just got, guys seriously injured, or, worst case scenario, get a guy killed.
Yeah.
So those are things we always got to have in our mental makeup as firefighters and bosses.
Yeah. And that's a struggle too that I see and that I feel is we are currently in a very like a historic cold streak. I mean, an embarrassingly historic cold streak. And it's so like double-sided because on one hand it's like, gosh, I hate it's like have to fight myself to feel like we should train because we don't fight fire anymore, it seems like. And it's hard to keep pushing, but at the same time, it's like that's the times you have got to do it even more
Yep.
because you haven't had the real deal. You've got to at least pretend and do that stuff in the meantime. And so that's a real deal to kind of fight that mentality to say, you have got to push through these slow times and keep going so that when it does happen, you still know what the heck you're doing and you can still do it well.
Yeah. And then everybody, everybody makes assumptions. Oh, Landon, God, you guys are fighting fire every day. No, we weren't fighting fire every day. Early in my career, we were way, way, way busier where, 2 a day, 3 a day, was not an abnormal thing. But as time went on, city changes and all those things, yeah, you go 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 shifts and they even bang out. And what's even more challenging as a supervisor, as a lieutenant or a captain is, man, when they do tone you out for that structure fire, it's amazing how fast guys lose their shit because they haven't got their gear on for a while. They haven't done it for a while. They want to make sure they're there first. And you see more mistakes sometimes happen after a slow streak if you haven't been drilling on the basics.
Yeah.
So one of the things I used to always, especially my last couple of years on the job, I had nothing but very young 1 and 2 year guys on my rig. And as we made the block, I'd let them talk. They had to talk. They loved running their suck holes on the way to fires. We're going to be fracking, say, man, when you saw it, and especially now if you can see the header, they would literally, you could hear them literally high-fiving in the back of the rig. They were so happy to go to a job. As soon as before the air brake hit, when I knew we were about to make the stop, to position apparatus, I'd say, hey, guys, slow down and do it right. It was just that, okay, we got, and it really helped. It was amazing how much I didn't have to do at fires. I, do my size up, give my assignments, do my 360. Those guys would be spot on at the door, masked up, line charge, ready to rock and roll because we had slowed down just a little bit and did it because we had done it 1,000 times prior to that fire. We'd pulled that line that many times, and not just your standard parking lot stretch. We'd stretch it all the way around the firehouse. We'd stretch into the station, up the stairs, back down. We'd do a rope stretch off the back of the station. Any little thing to keep us thinking. Stopping at a house in the middle of the day, coming back from a call. Hey, what is that? Oh, it's a house. Yeah. Now tell me, give me a size up on that house. Oh, it's a 1-story wood frame, single family dwelling on a crawl space. Constantly thinking. And those are little things we can do all the time at every call. I used to love, not love EMS, but after the call, asking the young guy, what would we do if we had a fire here? What would we
Yep.
do if the fire was in the second floor? What would we do if we had to make that basement? Would we take it around back? Where is there a back door? And we would take time some at calls and just literally walk 2 or 3 houses around that call and go, man, look at this, look at that, man, look at the roof on that damn thing. We can't put anybody on that roof. That house is vacant, but is it vacant or is it got urban campers? You know, so we didn't consider any house vacant in our territory. Every house we had in our territory had either was somewhat occupied or was fully occupied. So yeah, those are, I mean, it's a lot to it, really is. And again, that goes all the way back to one of the things that we do a lot of officer development stuff. Man, we got to start taking that rookie from day one and get him on that track of thinking and making decisions. Cause you know, eventually you're going to retire one day. That kid's going to be in charge. Yeah. And if I haven't prepared him, you know, all we've done is set him up to failure by not taking that time with him every shift.
Yeah, and that's just taking advantage of little things, just situations that if you aren't paying attention, if you aren't wanting to learn and grow, you lose. But yeah, I mean, just the little things that you see, a different looking stairwell than you're used to seeing, a different position of doors or bedrooms or whatever, just little things like that you can always kind of point out and start conversations with. Man, it makes a big deal in the big picture as you build and build and build on that. And something else, as you're talking about that I have changed very recently with my expectations and my crew, is, like I said, we've been very slow. And so that, just like you talked about, it starts you on a path of losing some of the fine skills of, if you do have something come in, getting your gear on in a moving vehicle is not easy. And if you haven't done it in a long time, you're gonna probably forget something. It's a very high likelihood of it. And so I have used in the past, I've been pretty lax on automatic alarms. We'll be in gear, but I've never pushed air packs and all that. And so it's something that I have been thinking about changing for a while. I know that that's probably something that I should have changed, but now I see, okay, we need to start using those fire alarms that are probably nothing as a chance to practice and polish up our skills of just getting ready for the real deal. Treat that thing like a fire, get ready, get everything on, get ready to go, and just use that as a small training kind of exercise to get ready for the real, when it really comes in.
Yeah. Oh yeah. High rise, everybody had to be in full gear. Residential alarms, everybody had to be in full gear. Because all my mindset was, well, they got an alarm system for a damn reason, especially in residential alarm bells. Probably the only one I never really harped on was the bakery that we responded to every now and then on automatic aid. And every time, like every Friday, that it's steam cleaning. Well, every Friday you knew you were going to the bakery because the steam cleaning would set off the alarm. So, yeah. But we had multiple high rises, and if the alarm bell's going 18, are you going to go up there in your shorts and t-shirt and go, oh shit, it's on fire, let me run back downstairs? That's not how that works. So yeah, those are, and it's easy habits to fall into after a while. And it can suck, but 98 degrees out and you're wearing full gear to go check a alarm bell on the 18th floor. Well, they give us extra uniforms for a reason, and showers. And, if you're too cheap to buy soap, I'll bring you a bar of soap to work. But we can always find time to jump in the shower or whatever if we get that nasty and sweaty on an alarm bell. But those are little things I think actually go a long way long term. But that again goes back to what we were talking about earlier, that consistency factor and the perspectives and our mentality about the job. And you can tell a guy who's not all the way in. I've never expected guys to be into it the way I was into it. But you're going to be into it for that 24 hours at least. After that, I don't have any control over you, but for 24 hours, we're going to be about the damn job, and not about the pay or why we're here, because the only reason we're here is to help other people. And I don't care about anything else other than that. Once we're at the firehouse, making sure that you're good, your family's good, and we're going to take care of our people.
Yeah. I love it, man. I think this is probably a good place to stop. And I love everything we talked about. I got a lot out of everything we talked about, but I'm going to have you back because the main thing I wanted to talk about, we didn't really get to, which is fine because I was, I was enjoying the conversation and I didn't want to kind of steer it in that other direction. I wanted to,
Sure.
I wanted to keep going. So definitely we'll have you back and we're going to discuss some of the other things that you've talked about on other shows about, flipping firefighters and kind of getting back into that. But I really appreciate your time. I appreciate all the knowledge that you're willing to give us and as the fire service and just thank you very much.
Oh no, thank you. You're actually helping me out a lot more than you know, because when I hang up, I have to mow grass and then I have to drag out Christmas decorations.
Oh,
So we need to go another 4 or 5, tape 4 or 5. Those Christmas decorations are going up tomorrow, and I don't think I have any say so because my boss says I don't have any say so
oh
in
yeah,
that.
that's right.
So
Well,
yes, I'll be dragging Christmas decorations out sometime today.
nice. So give everybody an avenue to get a hold of you, whatever kind of information you want to give out and
Yeah,
however.
I'm pretty. I leave myself open for contact. I really do. I have no problem with sharing a lot of the things that I do teach and say, to limited degree. Obviously, I can be contacted. My easiest contact is my email address, and that's Todd Edwards 6, the number, and that's at Yahoo. You can also reach out to me. I'm on Facebook under Todd Edwards as a personal page, and I also run a training page where we share articles and training tips from all over the country, and that's called Mission Resurrection. And so, any of those sites, obviously Facebook Messenger, whatever you're comfortable with as far as reaching out. I have Instagram. I don't use that much, and with that other Twitter thing. I mostly just scroll through that, and that's about it. I don't use that a whole lot, but yeah, I'm easy to get a hold of. And like I said, I like sharing stuff with guys and talking fire. We provide a lot of different training programs. Hopefully we can get into that a little bit next time, as far as like the disabilities awareness things is a huge deal that we've been working on now for several years, and it's very near and dear to me. On that perspective, along with everything else we've been talking about today.
Absolutely, for sure. I mean, there's definitely lots that I want to hear more from you. So we will try to get you back pretty quick and let you get into all of that as well. But again, thank you for your time. Thank you very much for what you're doing for the fire service, and I appreciate you and look forward to hearing more and learning from you.
Great, I appreciate it, brother. Hope everybody has a happy Thanksgiving.
Thank you.
Thank you once again for spending some time with us today. I really appreciate you tuning in. I hope that you enjoyed the show and gained a little knowledge, a little growth, grabbed a few takeaways, and hopefully it'll carry you into the rest of the week and look forward to seeing you again. Wanted to take a short amount of time to thank my podcast sponsor, Woods Forcible Entry Door Kit. It's a great product. I love it. I own one myself. We use it all the time at the firehouse that I'm at and just really love it. Great tool for training, great tool for exercise and working out, and I've said it before, this is a group of guys that are doing great things for the fire service and just a good, solid group of guys. So I'm very appreciative for being a part of that team. So thank you to them. Please go check them out. And as always, if you don't mind, share, like, subscribe, download, whatever it is on whatever platform that you're listening to. If you enjoy what you're hearing and appreciate the content and the guests, I would really appreciate taking a little bit of time and doing that for me. Just to kind of helps the visibility of the show and just helps me, to be honest, know that I'm doing the right thing and headed the right direction. So thank you very much for everything you do and sharing the show and just helping me get my message out. So thank you. Hope you have a great week. Look forward to having you on back again. And until then, stay safe, take care of each other.